Howdy, folks. This is Gumbo Craig, a sinner. And today we are going to be talking about the upcoming film Morbius, the god Apollo, and venom injections past and present. The following speculations are the result of research and insight by my son.
Hey, what's up? I'm Nick.
With an appreciative nod to Casey Brown's fantastic material on his Enter the Stars channel on YouTube and Odyssey. Fresh off the incredible success of Venom, Let There Be Carnage, Sony will soon release its next Marvel Comics-based offering, Morbius. The vampire film starring Jared Leto, long postponed primarily due to the pandemic.
It's been 84 years.
The movie contains symbolism eerily related to both our current global ills and to the pharmaceutical solutions with which we seek to remedy them. Indeed, there seems to be a whole host of cultural associations between vampires, bats, plagues, and subcutaneous jabs of all kinds. In fact, these associations commenced with the very first vampire film, Nosferatu, released in 1922, exactly a century before Morbius. This German expressionistic art horror film was primarily the creation of Albin Grau, a close associate of self-proclaimed 666 beast Aleister Crowley and a member of the occult Masonic lodge Fraternitas Saturni, the Saturnian Brotherhood. He filled Nosferatu with symbols of Enochian magic and alchemy, as well as crediting the vampire with instigating a plague in the fictitious German port of Wismar. This was an embellishment to Bram Stoker's Dracula, upon which Grau unofficially based his film. The filmmaker, also known in European occult circles by his magical name, Master Pacius, will also introduce the concept of vampires perishing in the sunlight. Vlad the Impaler, upon whom Stoker based his Dracula, was indeed very fair-skinned and had an aversion to daylight. He was a member of the Order of the Dragon, and indeed the name Dracula means son of the dragon. Grau was inspired to do a vampire tale by a Serbian farmer he had met in World War I who claimed his father had been one of the undead. Grau's production company was named Prana after the Hindu concept of Kundalini, the psychic energy referred to as the coiled serpent lying dormant at the base of the spine until awakened through meditative or magical means and raised through the 7 chakras, uniting the body with cosmic consciousness or the gods as it streams from the crown chakra. We will find this crowned serpent, as well as the plague motif, playing prominent roles in the upcoming Morbius and other stories of the undead. Morbius's nemesis in the comics and in the upcoming film is the Hydra agent Loxias Crown. Any reference to crown is noteworthy, as in the Spanish language, it is the same word as the full form of the Roni, sickness, which we would say outright if we still lived in a free country where we were allowed the freedom to say what we wish to say and you were allowed to interpret it as is your God-given right. A search on the word Loxias turns up a number of interesting associations. Most significantly, it is a surname or invocation of the Greek god Apollo, particularly as an oracle or prophet and interpreter of Zeus. By the way, the mother of Apollo is Leto, the same as the surname of the Morbius star. Apollo is the god of the sun, music, poetry, archery, medicine, and plague. It is most interesting that Apollo both causes the disease and provides the cure. The arrows of archery ruled by Apollo are often tipped with toxin, a word for poison whose antecedents are derived from Greek and Latin. Toxon is also the bow of archery, and by extension refers to ribbons and bows. In the Rider-Waite Tarot deck, the skeletal knight on the death card carries a banner with the white rose of the House of York. The rider on the white horse of Revelation 6:2 similarly carries a bow, and a crown was given to him. In Revelation 6:8, the horsemen were given power over a fourth of the earth to kill by sword, famine, plague, and by the beasts of the earth. In Revelation 9, 2 through 7, stinging locusts arise from the bottomless pit and torment humanity for 5 months. They jab and puncture the skin like scorpions, also like swords, daggers, or needles. In Revelation 9:11, yes, that's 9:11, the king over them is Apollo or Apollyon, the destroyer. Interestingly enough, the world's largest machine, the Large Hadron Collider, with a self-proclaimed mission to find the God particle and perhaps contact other dimensions, is built in proximity to an ancient temple of Apollo. At CERN's entrance stands a statue of the Hindu god Shiva, also known, like Apollo, as the Destroyer, and disturbingly reminiscent of the pronouncement by atomic bomb father Oppenheimer, "I have become Shiva, the Destroyer of Worlds." Loxias also appears in the Harry Potter wiki. He is the dark wizard who becomes master of the Elder Wand when he kills Barnabas Deverils. J.K. Rowling was seldom or never flippant in her stories' names and symbols. It is perhaps significant that the name Barnabas is best known in popular culture as the central vampire on the enormously popular 60s soap opera Dark Shadows. A whole generation learned to see vampires as heroes rather than villains through Jonathan Frid's portrayal of Barnabas. In the upcoming Morbius film, Leto's character has a severe illness and finds the cure in bats. Conversely, it appears that our current plague had its origins in bats. Whether you believe it was a bat which bit a pangolin that was later eaten from a wet market, or that it was engineered genetically in the bat, either to escape or to be deliberately released on the world, there is a relationship between bats and the pandemic. This is directly in evidence in the 2010 film Daybreakers, interestingly set in the year 2019 and involving a vampire pandemic carried by an infected bat. Related tropes are apparently featured in some films starring Mila Jovovich. Even her name could possibly be an oblique reference to the Vidco 1+9. Separating out COVID, Nick tells me that the remaining letters are numerologically 19, so we have COVID-19, a close cognate. The most recent vehicle in the Resident Evil franchise, formerly starring Jovovich, is entitled Welcome to Raccoon City. Raccoon is anagrammed into C-O-R-O-N-A with just an extra C left over. It is a zombie apocalypse movie which many people see as a fitting metaphor for where we are and where we might be heading. At least one trajectory of transhumanist modification of the human genome. In other words, many feel that what we are introducing into our bodies is not a VAX strictly speaking, but an experimental gene therapy that has never been properly field tested to our knowledge. There is speculation that in conjunction with certain waves and frequencies, our thoughts and moods might be modified. It is also speculated that a certain percentage might suffer side effects or cancers, such as is heavily suspected of the earliest injections into our bodies to prevent other maladies, leading to the huge uptick in soft tissue cancers we are indeed experiencing decades later. Jovovich's Ultraviolet displays many of the same elements constellated together in conversations on our current dilemma. Vampire, pandemic with mask, and concentration camp references. What her character initially believes is to be a cure turns out to be deadly to humans. Many now wonder if the same thing is true of our solution to the global sickness. In Hellboy, Jovovich is the Blood Queen, suggests vampirism, who seeks out Hellboy to bring on the apocalypse. The Underworld film franchise also weaves the threads of plague, vampires, and the CV-19. Marcus Covinus, the immortal son of an immortal being, is bitten by a bat. This starts a viral infection which turns people into vampires and werewolves. When human beings discover the existence of these supernatural creatures, in Underworld Awakening, they proceed to hunt them down, but in the process get scratches and bites that turn many humans into vampires and werewolves by virtue of the viral agent. The name Corvinus has the same etymological origins as the original name for CV-19, derivatives of which also mean crown, crow, or raven. Incidentally, Apollo's lover was named Coronis. Her infidelity was discovered by a crow, Corvus. Both of those names are of the same derivation. Oh, and by the way, Bruce Willis's character in The Fifth Element, another Jovovich film, is Corbin Dallas, another Crow Crown reference. Like most of Underworld's creatures of the night, superheroes are also hybrids of humans and some supernatural agency. And while this may be more obvious in today's darker fare, it can also be unveiled in a sunny Saturday morning children's cartoon of the 70s, Super Friends. Season 3, Episode 6 of Super Friends is entitled Attack of the Vampire. In this story, Dracula awakes for the first time in a century. He turns into a bat and spreads red powder across the sky, infecting a plane full of people who thereupon become the vampire slaves, commissioned to infect the world. Superman is zapped in the chest on his significantly serpentine S insignia. He is turned into a vampire who proceeds to infect people quickly by virtue of his powers. He infects the Wonder Twins. See the Enter the Stars YouTube channel decode on this one. The twins are aliens born during a plague. The Superman insignia is the serpent coming out of the chest. This is a common symbolism of demonic possession, jumping from body to body through time, often depicted as time travel. Even in the Superman comic books, the insignia was not intended to be an S standing for Superman, but some kind of Kryptonian symbol. The juvenile alien exploding out of the chest in the Alien movie franchise is in a similar vein. In the movie Donnie Darko, the title character says time travel is like an arrow through the chest. Enter the Stars says this is the arrow of Apollo. Some claim that all of these things are predictive programming. That is to say, the controllers of the world are telling us what they are doing to us. Some believe this is a way of conditioning us to accept what is to come. Others believe that by the rules of the Gnostic occult belief systems the power elite are thought to subscribe to, that they are morally obligated to tell us what they have in mind for us, and if we don't catch on, well, that's our responsibility. Still others say it is a way in which the players signal each other and communicate solidarity and belief. And some believe it is varying degrees of all of these. Whatever the truth, the reality is that there are symbols, themes, and tropes that occur together with startling regularity. Things that seem unrelated on the surface, but which are intimately connected. Vampires, viral outbreaks, injections, crowns, crows, etc. are some of them. We will be exploring them and others more deeply in the near future. We will be looking at ancient mythology and how it relates to the so-called grin technologies of genetics, robotics, artificial intelligence, and nanotechnology. We will assess and better understand where we are by looking at how we got here and where we are going in the times now coming upon us. This is Gumbo Craig, a sinner. In the name of Messiah, be blessed. All glory to the Most High God.